I'm Marisa Gregg. I'm the Vice President for Communications and Marketing at Holy Cross. Welcome to tonight's webinar. We know that you have many questions. We are going to spend some time answering the most prevalent questions that have come in, and we'll also take live questions tonight. We know that we might not get to all of them, so please be patient as we get you answers in the coming days. This information is all new to us, and we're still working through quickly all of the work to getting you the details that you need. We will capture the questions tonight, so we will continue to update the FAQ on our website with answers, and we will provide weekly updates in the coming weeks with more information. If you don't see the answer to your question in either of these places, please email coronavirus@holycross.edu. I will turn it over to Father Burrows.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be with you. I do have some prepared remarks that I'll share in a minute, lest I forget all the things that I'm supposed to be telling you. But before I do, I just want our incoming class particularly to know how concerned we are about you and all that you've been through. Your senior year ended on the note that our senior year here ended, and I'm sure we were all hoping for a new beginning this fall. That's not happening because of the movement of the pandemic and the concerns that are there. But we want this year to be special for you, and we're going to make our most thoughtful and creative efforts we can, really to welcome you to the college community and to prepare for that day, and hopefully not that far off, but that day when we can welcome you here to Mount St. James. I know that for many of you and for me, Monday's announcement that the college is going predominantly online was been a very difficult and painful one. As we all know, for many months now, the world around us has been suffering from a pandemic that shows no signs of letting up, and it is spreading across our own country in new waves of contagion. While we wait for the first for the development and then the availability of a vaccine, many have faithfully donned masks and observed social distancing and limited outside engagement. And where implemented, the rate of the spread dramatically drops. Sadly, others have grown understandably impatient with the restrictions and then tragically ignored safety precautions. And there, the virus either resurges or continues to spread. Unfortunately, schools reopening and sports teams seasons beginning, and bars and restaurants doing business and large social gatherings have demonstrated that the virus is very active and dangerous. How schools and colleges and universities are responding to the pandemic varies greatly as our realities differ significantly. Each one of us has different resources and needs. Some have medical schools and large research centers in busy urban centers, while others are liberal arts colleges in more remote locations where there are few nearby medical centers. Some schools are highly residential, while others are primarily commuter students. Some have large graduate populations, while others are solely undergraduates. Consequently, responses to the challenges of this moment are unique to each and rarely comparable. In just the last few weeks, it has become clear to us on our campus that promised testing and monitoring processes could be delayed due to both to the rapidly increased volume as across our state and region colleges and universities reopen, but also because of all the technical aspects of preparing for and delivering twice-weekly testing unfolds. Although the Broad in Cambridge is responding strongly at the moment, they have 130 schools coming on in the next few weeks, and there are some concerns that are reasonable. We've become aware that local resources to coordinate and manage contact tracing are limited, and those belong to the local Department of Health, and that new recommended restrictions on inside dining and managing the spread of the virus among food service staff will severely limit our ability to feed our campus community. Our governor recently intensified the state's requirements regarding quarantining, and he has restricted again the size of inside and outside gatherings. Further, we don't have significant backup staff for those who provide essential services, like student life, public safety, and health services, should they contract the virus. If our full complement of students were to move onto campus, resources to manage an outbreak and provide hundreds of beds for isolation and quarantine space for those exposed could quickly close us down. And so with no indoor dining, severely restricted spaces for limited social gatherings, the necessity of now increased social distancing in athletic and exercise facilities, even with tents and reimagined classroom and social spaces, life on campus would be severely and increasingly limited for our students. I know that the decision to move to a remote fall is incredibly disappointing, and I understand and appreciate that some of you disagree with it. I hope, though, that there is some comfort in knowing that our main priorities in making this decision were the health and the safety of our students, and also that of our faculty, staff, and our local community. Only when it became clear through a confluence of factors that we could not move forward with bringing 2,000 students to campus and meeting our responsibilities to them did we entertain the difficult decision to change course. Now, yesterday, another Worcester University postponed its opening, and today another decided to go fully remote. In the past 2 weeks, over half of the Patriot League universities, that's our athletic league, have all gone remote as well. Now, I also understand that this late decision made it all the more frustrating. Because the movement of the pandemic has been erratic and unpredictable, all institutions are constantly scrambling to find new responses to rapidly changing situations. Our 15 COVID-19 working groups were moving full steam ahead for the past several months, while lately they began watching complex realities quickly change. With our Board of Trustees' decision to pivot our mode of operation last Saturday, our different committees have had to shift their focus and planning again. They are scaling up alternate plans they had in reserve to create a robust and meaningful experience for our students who will now be studying remotely. They are supplementing the opportunities for experiential learning, for internships, for speakers, for dialogues on important topics, civic engagement, and spiritual growth, with even more opportunities for social interactions, recreation, and small group communities, all done virtually. And frankly, they are as exhausted by all this as I'm sure you are. But I can assure you that while the experience will certainly be different, because of their hard work, students will be busy and engaged, supported and mentored, and be part of this community, whether they are on campus or not. Now, this dramatic change raises many emotions and I'm sure many questions for you. And as you've heard from Marisa, we've tried to anticipate your biggest questions and answer them via the FAQ section on our website. And we'll answer more of your questions live tonight, although we know well from experience we're not going to get to them all. I ask once again for your patience. We are quickly working through the many implications of this decision, and we will continue to keep you informed of the updates. As you use the Q&A function, I'm also going to ask that you frame your questions and concerns in a respectful manner. I know it can be difficult when faced with deep emotion, but please remember that my colleagues have spent day and night this summer foregoing time with their own families, focused on your health and safety, and creating a meaningful remote academic and student life experience for you in the face of this pandemic. I think we all recognize there are no good options in this dangerous time. Our administrators and staff will do their best to answer your many questions and get you answers quickly to the ones they are unable to answer tonight. Now, it is clear that our lives have been filled with mounting losses as the months have moved on. As we said here at the beginning of this pandemic, uncertainty is our new given. And that's true not just for higher education, but for all aspects of our lives. In this community that values tradition as much as ours, it is very painful and disconcerting to have the key milestones of our next year canceled or modified. Here and across our world, everyone has to change their routines and expected ways of living and working. And frankly, the global suffering that we see every day on the news and the internet should help us to put our own experiences into a larger perspective. Now, I hope too that in the midst of all this disruption, there are also moments of joy and surprise. Hopefully, we are all becoming more reflective and grateful for what we do have. On Saturday's Zoom call with our Board of Trustees, I heard our newest graduate, who has now come on the board for a 2-year term, talk about her experience as a graduating senior last spring. While she missed so much, she was amazed at how friendships had grown remarkably more significant and deeper because of shared hardships. And I recently heard a colleague who is the mother of 2 Holy Cross students describe incredibly meaningful dinner conversations that aren't possible during the year when her son and daughter are living here on campus. And at dinner the other night in our Jesuit community, I listened to my brothers talk with excitement about online classes they have been taking in order to teach more effectively and creatively this semester. I have no doubt that we will get through this together. You may be at home, but you will still meet new friends and develop bonds that will be with you for years to come. Your courses may be conducted via Zoom, but you will engage in dialogue about the meaning and purpose of life in these days of pandemic, financial instability, racial injustice, and a national election. You will still relish great literature, new historical perspectives, scientific discovery, and sociological insights. You still will be pushed to achieve more than you thought possible and explore creative approaches to your field of study with the advice and support of your faculty, staff, and new friends. And finally, your character will be shaped forever by this moment in time when adversity invites all of us to become more thoughtful, more inventive, more socially engaged, more patient, and more grateful, not only for what we have been given, but grateful for the opportunity to discover how we are called to share what we have been given for the survival and the flourishing of our struggling world. And now, before I hand it back to Marisa to facilitate questions and answers, I want to address a few of the main questions that we have received since Monday. First, some of you have asked why we are allowing certain students to return to campus and how we decided on the exceptions. Well, in addition to the health and safety of our community members, it is also a priority and our responsibility to ensure that all of our students are able to progress academically this fall. For some students, academic success depends on their access to campus resources and facilities. They may not be able to reliably access the internet at home or have the space or other resources to be able to participate in learning remotely. They may have other personal situations that make it necessary to be on campus in order to continue to progress. Other students require access to facilities such as research labs or studios in order to meet specific academic requirements this semester, without which their graduation could be delayed. And finally, we are allowing the members of certain winter athletics teams access to training facilities, as their safety, should we be able to compete in winter, depends on their access to proper training in advance of their season. Second, some have raised the question about tuition, given that the academic and student experience will now be remote. I fully appreciate the significant investment all of our families make to send their daughter or son to Holy Cross. Regarding tuition, the Board of Trustees voted to eliminate the planned annual increase and roll tuition back to last year's rate. We have eliminated some of our fees, and we are adjusting our financial aid packaging. That is what we feel we can do at this time to sustain all that we are trying to accomplish. Now, I acknowledge that the experience students will have remotely will be different. There is no question that it will not be the same as being on campus in person. However, your courses will still be Holy Cross courses developed and taught by our faculty. And these dedicated faculty members are committed to teaching, to being accessible to students, and to providing students with personalized attention, advising, and support. They have designed and now redesigned their courses to ensure that you students will make connections with them and with the material and with each other. The courses will all be live or synchronous to enable vigorous conversation, and classes are being kept small so that all students can participate actively. This fall, you, our students, will continue to have co-curricular opportunities, including possibilities for internships, research, civic engagement, and other experiential learning. Online social activities, small group communities, and opportunities for spiritual development and physical wellness are all being developed. There will be extensive opportunities for students' growth and development of mind, body, and spirit, as well as opportunities for meeting and building lasting relationships with peers. The experience students have at Holy Cross lasts for life. Our students leave with new perspectives, with communication and critical thinking skills, with a sense of responsibility to their communities and to the world, and with a network of extraordinary and dedicated individuals, friends, and alumni who will support them throughout their lives. And I want to end by talking for a minute about the spring semester. We want nothing more than to be back in the spring. And this is what we're planning for today. But as our famous alum, Dr. Tony Fauci, has repeatedly said, the timeline is the pandemic's and not ours. Now, hopefully, we will all be in better position to mitigate the spread and to care for students who contract or who have been exposed to the virus over the course of this semester. And that will help us to make appropriate decisions about safety in the spring as we learn more in the next few months. And now I'd like to turn it back to Marissa.
Thank you. While I have you, actually, we have a couple of questions, Father Burrows, that I'd like to pose to you. One is about schools in Worcester, and is Holy Cross the only school in Worcester that is not bringing students back for the fall semester?
No, as I just indicated yesterday, one is delaying their beginning for a few weeks to see how things unfold. They're on a different academic system than we are. They're on 7.5-week terms this year, 4 of them. And so they're approaching it that way. And their president told me, well, we'll just have to wait to see what happens. The cases in Worcester and 9 other cities in Massachusetts started an uptick. So we're all a little bit cautious right now. Another school this morning announced that it was going fully remote as well. One other school is not doing this because their whole focus of their curriculum is really on the STEM sciences. And they said they're so lab connected that there's no way they could open otherwise. So they're going to try and hope to make it through the semester being in person. But everybody has lots of questions on that. The Patriot League, our athletic league, as I think I mentioned just a second ago, more than half of our equivalent schools now have announced that they're going remotely as well.
Thank you. I am going to turn it over to Dean Murray. We have some questions about why we didn't allow a cohort to come back. Some schools are bringing in only their seniors or only their first years. Why weren't we able to do something like that?
Sure. Sure, I will be happy to answer that. And first, students, I just want to acknowledge the sense of loss and grief you feel, particularly after losing the major milestones of your high school senior year, and now you're experiencing similar disappointment at the start of your college career. And we are feeling this loss as well. And there's just no way around it right now. This experience is really hard. And I just want to acknowledge that. Unfortunately, as you heard from Father Burrows, late last week, a series of variables emerged that clearly indicated we could not safely host a large population of students on campus. And I think you know that that was our sincere hope, and that's what we were working toward. And so even a cohort like the first year class would be too large for us, because what we need to do is ensure that we have no more than 1 student per room, and then limit the number of people sharing a particular bathroom. So even the first year class would have been too large of a cohort. So that's why we made the very difficult decision instead to allow exceptions for a small group of students whose personal or academic circumstances require them to study on campus rather than a cohort.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the timeline? I know we assigned roommates and housing, and that was late last week. And then on Monday, we announced that we were going to a remote fall. Can you talk about that timeline a little bit?
Sure, sure. I know that the timing was incredibly confusing and that it just added to your disappointment. Many of you, I think, felt like you were assured that we would go ahead and start the year as planned when you received your housing assignment and your roommate. And I'm pretty sure that it feels like the rug was pulled out from under you. And I truly, truly am sorry about that. Since June, our goal, and like I said just a minute ago, and our real hope has been to have as many students on campus who wanted to be here, and we've been working overtime to reach that goal. And until the other day, we believed we would be able to move forward with the fall as we had planned. And so we continued our preparations for fall, which included housing assignments. If we were able to open as planned, but had not done the housing assignments last week, we would not have been ready to welcome you at the end of the month. And so the timing just couldn't have been more unfortunate, and I wish it could have been helped, but unfortunately it wasn't able to be helped.
Thank you. Can you talk about what the ways are that will make first years part of our community and help them to meet people and build relationships?
Yeah, that's so important, right? You're starting college, you're starting Holy Cross, and this is a really special community. And so you should know that your faculty, your advisors, your fellow students, administrators, and staff, all of us, we are very much looking forward to getting to know you and to welcoming you to Mount St. James. Over the next 2 weeks, you will be hearing from many people on campus, including these folks, your Montserrat faculty, your first year advisors, the faculty who are teaching the other courses for which you're enrolled, and also the faculty and staff who sent you postcards over the summer. So each of you received a postcard. Some of you received one from me, and I will be getting in touch with you. And the other folks whoever sent you a postcard will be reaching out to you as well. Also, the Gateways orientation staff will be reaching out to you. We know that many of you have not ever visited campus, right? Because you were planning to do that, and then in the spring, and then COVID hit. And so our outreach to you is even more important. We do, of course, have a benefit that you have already received housing assignments and roommates. And that benefit is that we will be able to host events and programs by residence hall floor. So this will give you an opportunity to meet one another and build community with your classmates, almost like you were in person. And I encourage you to meet each other, and whether because it's someone who lives in your residence hall, or people who live close to your home location, or by interest. So you will have additional opportunities to check out the student clubs and organizations, and all of them are very eager to get virtual events going and to continue with their activities and the program, the agenda that they had planned for the year. So I encourage you to get involved in that way as well.
Thank you. When the class of 2024 does arrive on campus, will we have some sort of in-person orientation or special events for them?
Sure. So let me just first say that way a long time ago, I used to run orientation. And so not for Holy Cross, for another Jesuit institution. And so orienting first-year students is very near and dear to my heart. And it is important to me personally, as well as to all of our faculty and staff, including Kathleen Doan-Cannon, who is the Director of Orientation and Transition Programs. It's important to all of us that you are oriented appropriately and properly to Mount St. James and to the college. And again, so many of you have not ever visited Holy Cross in person, and so we are aware of your needs. I hope that this will be the first and only time in my career that we will be orienting students who have already started their college career with us. But I do hope that when we are back in spring, I hope we are back in spring, that we will be sure to orient you in the ways that you need to be oriented and welcomed.
Thank you. I am going to go to Provost Frigie with some questions about classes. So Provost Frigie, could you talk a little bit about what the online classes will be like? Will they be recorded or will they be live?
Sure. First of all, I just want to say to students and parents who are on this call, it is really, really disappointing that we will not have you with us on September 1st. Your faculty were looking forward to it. I always look forward to it as the provost. Your class dean, Dean Royden, is looking forward to meeting you. And it is sad that we will not have you with us. But you know, one of the things that I told you was that whatever the fall semester looked like, we do Holy Cross together, and you're a critical component of that. So I hope you will still remember that Holy Cross becomes Holy Cross when you are part of Holy Cross and you are doing Holy Cross. I know that you had probably widely varying experiences as you finished your senior year online. You know, in some cases, I think school districts were able to make that transition. In other cases, it didn't work out very well for school districts. So I don't know what your experience was. All I will say to you is that the faculty have been working all summer to ensure that they are able to offer you the best possible online courses as you start your Holy Cross career. All of the courses will have synchronous components, will have live components where the faculty will bring you together, not just so that you can meet the faculty members, but in particular so that you can meet each other in your classes. You've all been placed in a Montserrat seminar, and the Montserrat faculty have been working since last April to be thinking about, right, how do we create a community in Montserrat? How do we make sure that not only the students inside our seminar get to meet each other, but that students across seminars get to meet each other? What will our common events look like as we try to bring clusters together? And so they have a lot of really interesting plans about how to bring you together and how to allow you to speak to one another about the topics of the course and the themes of the clusters. And so everybody is going to be working really hard to ensure that you have all of these opportunities to get to meet one another and form the class of 2024.
Thank you. Will there be changes to the calendar, the academic calendar that we announced?
No, there will be no changes to the fall calendar. We have not yet set the spring calendar, and we will do that in September. We will work with the faculty to develop a calendar for the spring as well as for summer terms.
Great. And how does grading work this semester with the online classes?
So the online classes will be graded like other classes. The faculty have been working to think about different kinds of assessments that could be part of the online curriculum. And so there'll be different kinds of assignments you'll be doing. Particularly assignments that make better use of the technology. I know a number of faculty have had students create websites around certain topics. They've had students create podcasts rather than write papers. So you should expect a lot of different kinds of assignments in your classes as you're moving forward this semester.
Great. Can you talk about Montserrat and what that will be like and how many students are in each Montserrat?
Sure. As I said before, the Montserrat faculty have been working together since last April. So to think about their courses, part of what they do in Montserrat is they try to think about not just their own course, their own seminar, but how the seminars can come together to think about particular questions and to think about particular themes. Most of the Montserrat seminars are capped at 15. Some of them are 13 at this point. So we want to keep them really small to make sure that we can engage you in those classes and that you really get to know one another and get to know the faculty member in Montserrat. But the other piece of Montserrat are the ways in which we come together across seminars to do common events. So it may be that you're going to be watching a film together and then come together as a group and go into breakout rooms where you'll get to meet different students and have conversations about the film or the event that you've just seen.
Great, thank you. Related to Montserrat, this is actually for Dean Murray. First year students are typically housed based on their Montserrat clusters. So will we be assigning first year students to sort of housing communities to build that community that they would have had?
So that's a really good question. This year we did not house by Montserrat because we were, again, trying to comport ourselves with the demands of COVID-19. So we did not do that. However, for students who had chosen to study remotely already or commuter students, we would assign you to a grouping of students. You know, your virtual community would be through either your Montserrat class or your cluster. So you would still have the same kind of opportunities to get to know people and build community as folks who might be doing that through their virtual residence hall. So we want to give everybody the same types of opportunity to meet each other and to figure out who your friends are and get to know this campus community.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Provost Friege, back to you. If a student is sick, the classes will be live, but will we be recording in case a student does get sick? How will they be able to catch up?
Yeah, so one of the things that's true about the Holy Cross faculty is that they work with individuals all the time when they have individual needs or concerns, and so many of the classes will be recorded to allow you to catch up. And even if they're not recorded, typically what happens if a student gets sick is they reach out to the faculty member, and the faculty member will meet with them individually to make sure they catch up. Often they share their own notes with the student to be sure that the student doesn't miss any of the material. But many of the classes will be recorded this year as well.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the option to defer admission, and can that be done on a semester basis, and what is the process and the deadline?
So the process of deferral of admission is a process to request that you be admitted in the following class. So it's a request that you be admitted into the class of 2025. So if you want to defer your admission, you need to write to Ann McDermott. She'll send you the request for deferral of admission form. When you ask for a deferral of admission, one of the things we ask you about is what you plan to do with the year and how you will use the year in a way that, that prepares you to start at Holy Cross next fall. When you defer your admission, you are committing not to attend another institution full-time and not to apply for full-time status at another institution. And then we will hold a place for you in the class of 2025. A couple of students have asked questions about how does a deferral affect your scholarships or your financial aid. So let me just get to that question as well. If you received a merit scholarship, so if you received a Faber scholarship or a Magis scholarship, we will give you that Faber scholarship or Magis scholarship next year. If you received need-based financial aid, we will again package you with need-based financial aid. You'll have to, just like every student does, fill out the FAFSA form and the CSS profile form so we can evaluate your need, but you will be eligible for financial aid again next year, need-based aid as well.
Great. And why do we typically not allow first years to defer for just a semester?
Because like I said, the deferral process is a request to enter a different class year, right? And so it's a process to enter the class of 2025 rather than 2024. Generally speaking, we actually don't accept any students into the college in the middle of their first year. So we don't accept transfer students in the middle of the first year or new first year students.
Great. When will students know their final schedule? I know registration is coming up, but.
Yes, so all the first year students were placed, as I said, in their Montserrat seminar, and you were placed in one other course based on what you had indicated were your top 2 courses. And so we placed you in one of your top 2 choices. On Thursday, tomorrow, you'll be able to get online and complete your schedule. So tomorrow you'll get online and you'll select 2 more courses for your schedule to get you up to 4 courses. And then actually on August 24th, we'll reopen the enrollment process for everyone in the college. And that will be an opportunity for students to make changes to their schedule. So you can select 2 new courses tomorrow. If you want to make changes to your schedule after that, that will open up again on August 24th. And if you have any questions about the registration process, please reach out to Dean Royden. She'll be happy to help you out as you're going through that process.
Thank you. We have some ambitious students asking if they could take 5 classes instead of 4.
So first semester, first year students, we do not let you take 5 classes. We really do want you to understand what the expectations are for Holy Cross courses. If you do well in your first semester, you will be permitted to take 5 courses in subsequent semesters. But for your first semester, we want to do everything we can to ensure that you're going to be successful as a student. And so that means making sure that we're giving you both the resources that you need and the support that you need, but also perhaps tempering your ambition a little bit.
Thank you. I am going to go to Dottie Hover for some questions about the bills and refunds for financial aid, refunds for room and board, sorry. If someone has paid their bill already, will they be getting a refund?
Yep, thanks. So revised bills will be posted without the student activity fee and without room and board if you're not living on campus, and also revised financial aid packages. So those are expected to be posted around August 19th. The due date has been extended to August 28th. And if you've already paid room and board, there's a refund request form on the bursar's website. And if you've signed up through TouchNet, you have an account, we will post the refund directly to that account. If not, we'll issue a refund check. I saw a question, Marisa, about someone asking if they could carry the credit over to the spring semester, and that is available, that option's available, and you would not need to reach out to the bursar's office for that.
Thank you. Could you also talk about how students will get their books?
Yes. On the Holy Cross website, if you go to the bookstore on the Holy Cross website, there's a link to textbooks. And we use MBS for our textbooks. So MBS has a specific Holy Cross site, and all the courses, the books are identified with courses, and you can order them on that website. If you're at home, they'll ship to your address. If you happen to be one of the students approved to be on campus, you can ship them to campus.
Great, thank you. Could you talk a little bit about financial aid? I think this is Provost Frigi, and why is financial aid being revised in addition to the room and board costs being refunded?
So there are a couple of changes that we want to make to the financial aid packages. So your financial aid package, we determine your need based on the total cost of attendance at the college. And the total cost of attendance is what we bill you for, as well as other additional expenses that you might have. So if you're an on-campus student, we bill you for room and board and tuition and fees, but we also know that you have to buy books, and we know that you have personal expenses associated with being on campus. So when we calculate the cost of attending Holy Cross, we add on extra money so that we can be sure that when we're saying we're meeting your need, we are trying to address not just your need to pay the bill, but your need to actually be a student at Holy Cross. So as we remove the room and board charges from the bill, what we want to do is recalculate your financial aid package to again meet your need. Now, if you're going to be living at home, in addition to the expenses that we might imagine that you incur by buying books or having personal expenses, there are other expenses you incur from living at home. You do have to have food at home, and so we're going to repackage your cost of attendance and then give you financial aid to meet your need. We're not going to change the Faber scholarships. We're not going to change the Magis scholarships. But the other thing we'll have to change in the financial aid packaging is the work study allocation. We recognize that if you're not on campus, it's going to be hard for you to get a job on campus. And so we will replace the work study allocation with grant money as we do that repackaging. So all of that is being done right now, and as Dottie said, we'll send you the bills with the financial aid packaging the beginning of next week.
Thank you. Can you talk about work study and what will happen with students who had work study as part of their package?
Yeah, so in the repackaging, we are going to not authorize work study because we know that students are not going to be able to get employment on campus, generally speaking. And so we're replacing the work study allocation with grant as we do the repackaging process.
Thank you. We have a couple questions about support for first-year students in terms of academic success. So Provost Freege, could you talk a little bit about professor office hours, any kind of other academic support?
Sure. A couple of things I'll say. One is that all of your faculty will have scheduled hours to meet with students every single week, and those will be on Zoom. In fact, they were going to be on Zoom no matter what, whether you were in person or not, because the faculty offices generally are not large enough to meet with students in the office. So when you get your courses and when you get your syllabus for the course, the faculty members' office hours will be on the syllabus. I've often said to faculty that they shouldn't call them office hours because I think students don't often understand what those hours are meant to be. They should call them student hours. Those are precisely the hours that the faculty members have set aside to answer your questions. And one of the things I always say to students is if you want to be a successful student at Holy Cross, you really should make sure that you talk to your faculty members in office hours. These are not hours just if you're struggling with the material. These can be conversations that you have with a faculty member because you find the material really interesting, or it can be a conversation that you have with a faculty member because what you're learning in their class is connected to another class. So those hours are set aside for you, and I urge you to take advantage of them. But in addition to your faculty members, the Office of Academic Services and Learning Resources has tutors available for you. They have workshops on study skills available for you. They have workshops on reading available for you. Often students find that there's a lot of reading when they move to Holy Cross, a lot more reading than they're used to. So Academic Services and Learning Resources is another place that you can go for support. And then the last thing I'll mention as a place for academic support is the Writers Workshop. So the Writers Workshop is a group of upper class students who are available to talk to you about your papers. And they'll talk to you about anything from how do I come up with a thesis statement? How do I outline this paper? They'll look at the paper and make some editing suggestions for you. They will not write your paper for you, but they will do everything they can to support you in writing your own paper.
Thank you. Question for Dean Murray, sorry. There are some questions about whether students who live locally or who were planning to commute to campus would have access to campus facilities at all.
Sure. So we are first of all, access to facilities on campus is going to be limited, just period, even for those who will be living on campus. But we have not made decisions yet about access to campus for those who are living within a commuting distance. Our first priority right now is to house those who have applied for the exception to be housed. And then we will turn our attention early next week to those students who live locally and may want access to different facilities such as the library or science labs. There is an application that is available already. If you are going to be living locally and you believe that you would like to have some access to campus facilities, you may go ahead and fill out that exception form. The link to it is in the announcement that went out on Monday. Of course, as I just said, we've not decided on the criteria that we'll be using, but you're more than welcome to fill out the form. It is open and available to you.
Great, thank you. I think Father Burrows has some closing remarks, so I am going to turn it back to him. Thank you, everyone.
I know this is just scratching the surface for a number of the questions that you have, and I hope you will continue to raise them in the appropriate forums. I hope you will be able to connect with your advisor, your class dean, or the COVID-19 website to raise questions that we haven't answered here. This is meant to be such an exciting time. And it really is being changed by the pandemic and its implications for all of us. We've had a couple of weddings on our campus this summer that was scheduled long ago, and from 150 or 180, they've had to move down to 25, and we live streamed them for their families. And I'm touched by people's ability and their resiliency to say, it wasn't what I anticipated, but I found it to be a wonderful experience of a different kind. And I hope that what we can provide for you will be a wonderful experience of a different kind. It won't be the same as what we hope for. And we hope that whether it's next spring, and we don't know yet the metrics for what that might be if we could open in the spring, a lot so depends on the pandemic. I do not anticipate that we will have readily available vaccines by then, but maybe what we will have will be ways of monitoring and dealing with the illness that will allow us to bring people back on campus, but we have no sense yet of what that will really mean. And I know that's been in a lot of the questions that people were asking. We're simply not in control as a human being, as a people. I suppose as we age in life, we kind of learn more and more about the fact that there's a lot we can't control. We also learn about losses and the things that they take from us and the things that they give to us, things that we wouldn't have chosen on our own, but sometimes things that mark our lives forever and often in very positive ways. So I hope we can enter this experience together. It will take imagination and commitment and support and care, and we hope to be there for you in all of those areas. We ask for your patience because for all of us, we're doing things we've never done before in a way we've never done before. Our country, since I'm reading a book about the pandemic of 1918, and until that time, till now, we've never had to face something like this before that has now, like then, touched our whole world. Let's keep one another in prayer and in hope. And thank you for joining tonight. I'm sure we'll be having another one of these before the classes begin. All the very best. Good night.